All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're not just talking about ideas, we're breaking down the actual blueprint for turning those ideas into real, lasting empires. This isn't about fluffy inspiration, it's a concrete, no-nonsense framework. We're about to dig into the strategies that really separate the dreamers from the doers.
So, let's start with a warning, a hard truth. If you came here looking for easy answers or comforting excuses for why things haven't worked out yet, well, this probably isn't for you. But if you're ready to ditch the justifications for a plan that actually gets results, then stick around. You're in the right place.
You know, this is the one question that probably keeps every entrepreneur and creator up at night. You've got the spark, the great idea, but how do you build the bridge from a thought in your head to a massive, thriving business? Well, like any great structure, it all starts with the foundation. And the first thing we have to do is just completely tear down a myth. We've all been told knowledge is power, right? But that's not exactly true. It's actually a bit of a dangerous half-truth. The reality is much more specific.
Here's the distinction that makes all the difference. On one hand, you have general knowledge. Think of it like a junk drawer in your brain, full of random facts and trivia. It's interesting, sure, but for building wealth, pretty much useless. Real power, the kind that builds things, comes from specialized knowledge, deep expertise that's organized and aimed like a laser at a very specific goal.
But what happens when you don't have all the specialized knowledge you need? Nobody does, right? That's where this powerful concept of the mastermind comes into play. You don't have to know everything, you just have to know the people who know, and get them all working together in harmony.
And wow, does this quote from Henry Ford nail it? When he was on trial and someone tried to call him ignorant, he didn't even flinch. He just pointed to his desk and said, basically, I can press a button and get an expert on any topic in this room in minutes. Why would I clog my brain with that stuff? See, he didn't fill his mind with facts. He surrounded himself with the right brains. That is real power.
Okay, so we've got our foundation of specialized knowledge. Now what? You need a blueprint, and that blueprint gets created in one place, the workshop of your mind, your imagination.
And inside this workshop, you've got two main tools. First is synthetic imagination. This is like being a DJ. You're mixing and rearranging existing ideas and concepts into new combinations. But then you have creative imagination. This is your connection to the source, where totally new insights, hunches, and breakthroughs come from. You absolutely need both.
$500. It's not a lot of money, but this tiny sum was the seed that grew into a global empire. It's what a young clerk paid for a simple formula on a piece of paper and an old brass kettle to mix it in. You see, that clerk took the simple syrup formula, but he added a secret ingredient that wasn't on the paper: his imagination. He imagined what that simple drink could become. And out of that one kettle came the worldwide phenomenon of Coca-Cola. The formula was just the start. Imagination was what turned it into billions.
So here's the bottom line. An idea, even a burning desire, is just a puff of smoke. It has zero commercial value on its own. It only starts to become real when you use your imagination to give it shape. And then, and this is crucial, you anchor it to the real world with a definite written plan.
Okay, you've got the knowledge, you've got the blueprint. But honestly, a blueprint is just a pretty piece of paper without action. And this right here is the great filter. This is where most people quit and most ideas die.
10,000. Just think about that number for a second. That's how many times Thomas Edison's experiments supposedly failed before he finally gave us the electric light bulb.
Edison understood something most people miss. Those 10,000 attempts weren't failures. They were just temporary defeats. Each one was a signal, a data point that told him, okay, this plan doesn't work. So what did he do? He just made a new plan, and another, until one of them finally worked. You see, a quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. Now look how fast this can happen when you're decisive. Dr. Frank Gonzalez didn't just hope to raise $1 million for his school, he decided he would get it in 1 week. He spent the week crafting his pitch, delivered it with absolute conviction, and the famous millionaire Philip Armour wrote the check right then and there. Why? Because that kind of clarity, that decisive plan, it attracts resources like a magnet.
This is such a brilliant example of packaging your value. A mother didn't just help her son write a resume. No, she helped them create a 50-page plan. It didn't just say what he could do, it spelled out in detail exactly how he was going to solve that specific company's biggest problems. By packaging his knowledge this way, he literally leapfrogged a decade of grinding his way up the ladder.
You see, that kind of strategic thinking isn't just a clever trick, it's a whole mindset.
And if you want to build an empire, not just a job, you have to operate by a completely different code of conduct, a leader's code.
And these rules, they're non-negotiable. First, the old idea of the aggressive go-getter is dead. Today's success flows to go-givers, people obsessed with providing value first. You have to consciously choose to be a leader, you have to be willing to do more than you're paid for, and, this is a big one, when things go south, you take the hit. You never ever blame your team. The failure is yours. That's what leadership is.
And here's your daily practice, the QQS formula. It's simple. Deliver the highest quality of service in the greatest possible quantity, and do it all with a harmonious and positive spirit of cooperation. Honestly, you can be brilliant at the first two, but if you have a bad attitude, that spirit is off, you will eventually fail. It's the glue that holds it all together.
So all of this brings us to a really profound idea about wealth. What is the world's real capital? Forget stocks, bonds, crypto, real estate. The truest form of capital is the financial value of your brain. Money is just useless metal and paper until a sharp, organized, and efficient mind tells it what to do.
And think about this for a second. Your specialized knowledge, your imagination, your leadership skills, that is the one form of capital that can't be wiped out in a market crash. It can't be devalued by inflation. No one can ever steal it from you. Investing in your own mind is the ultimate form of security.
And so, we end right back where we started, with a choice. You have the strategies now. You've seen the blueprint. The only question that's left is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to stay a thinker, just dreaming up ideas, or are you going to become an executor and actually go out and build your empire? The choice is entirely yours.